Well, today Metro Council will be meeting again. They're discussing a variety of topics. Joining me now, we have Council Member at Large, Quinn Evans-Segal. Good morning, Quinn. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
One of the topics you mentioned, building codes, which can sound a little bit complicated, but how important is it to address something like this in a city like Nashville that is seeing so much growth?
Yeah, when we look at our building codes right now, what we see is in our building code and our zoning code, there are a lot of confusing terms, a lot of terms that have multiple words to describe the same thing. And so if you are a homeowner or you're looking to buy or build, you can't just pick up the code and know what you can build. Cleaning those up really helps us alleviate some of our housing needs, but also just provides clarity to the community as a whole. Anybody should be able to read the code.
Right. We need simplicity when it comes to topics like this.
That's right.
Okay, so one thing you're all going to be discussing impacts duplexes. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so right now our duplex rules are based in a complicated system that requires figuring out often whether or not the lot that the house sits on existed in 1984. I think when we passed this, it made sense. We used to know.
That was a different time.
It was a different time, but we knew in the 80s and 90s what existed in 1984. We're now 40 years out, and what we found is that about 60% of administrative time is spent figuring out if something is duplex eligible.
Wow.
We could really simplify that, provide clarity to everybody in ways that would really make government work better when it comes to building housing and being more responsive to people.
I don't think anyone wants to hear that their tax dollars are going towards wasted time, for sure, if time can be saved.
That's right.
Staircases is another topic. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so in Tennessee today, you have to have multiple staircases for buildings once they get to a certain height.
Okay.
There's a lot of data that suggests you can have one staircase plus sort of additional fireproofing mechanisms that make the building safer, that lead to fewer fire-related deaths, but also allow the building to be built for a little less money and a little bit more affordable, therefore, to the residents, right? So we can increase housing and safety by looking at how they're building in Seattle and Honolulu. Some of our cities across the country have started this process, and we're looking at those as well.
So this would impact a lot of apartment complexes.
That's right. Particularly your smaller, it only affects 6 stories or lower, your smaller footprint apartment complexes, where right now we're really pressed for having lots the right size for those. This opens up the ability to build them where we can today, technically, but not in reality.
Okay, and speaking of lot size, we've seen a lot of very tall buildings and homes on very small lots. We're talking about the tall and skinnies. Tell me what's being proposed with that.
Yeah, so when we look at our duplex problems, when we look at our historic neighborhoods that are loved, that have triplexes and quadplexes within them, we know that those work in neighborhoods when they just look like all the houses around them. What doesn't work is when you tear one of those houses down and you build 2 tall skinnies with lovely for the residents, but not for the neighbors' rooftop decks, right? They feel like big boxes. They don't feel like they fit in our loved neighborhoods. So when we look at where you can do duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes, making sure things like pitched roofs, like bringing down the height of those buildings a little bit, just makes them fit within our neighborhood, creates more community, which we all want, and gets the housing we all need.
Okay, Quinn, thank you so much for your time and insight this morning. We appreciate it. Folks, we're going to have more information about how you can watch the council meeting and see the agenda at WKRN.com.